Hi, this is Steven from Just Got Played, and I just received my Kickstarter copy of Motor City. Now, I think this is the same copy you'll get even if you didn't back the Kickstarter. The difference is this Bob's mini expansion, I think it's called, that came with it. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. You see here Adam Hill, Matt Riddle, Ben Pinchback. We've got Motor City Gameworks, probably the only game they've ever done, and of course 25th Century Games. So a strategic engine building roll and write game. So let's see here. We've got 1 to 5 players, 45 minutes, ages 14 and up. See, there's a bunch of dice here, and then there's a roll and write. So you've got the boards that you draw on, and there's the central boards that you draft dice from. So you can see that these were the creators that made Fleet the Dice Game and Three Sisters. All right, so let's get this open and see what we've got in here. I backed this partially because of those designers. I do like Fleet and some other things they've done. And then the theme, of course, really appeals to me. All right, here we go. Right at the front here, we have the operations manual. So that's nice to have. All right, we've got a list of the components, setup, overview. Okay, so you've got the planning phase. I guess is that where you're setting up the dice or where everybody's drafting the dice? I'm not sure. I guess it's where you're setting up the dice. And then the industry phase is where you draft the dice and then you do stuff with them. And then there's the audit phase. Something's always blocked by the auditor die in the end of the game. How you score everything, the different actions and how they work. You can test your cards or upgrade your dice or do research, engineering, service department, sales. Got these certifications. It is actually, I have played the game. It is a bit complicated as far as roll and writes go. And then there's a bunch of stuff on solo mode here into the game. So you've got a scoring rubric here. So, Chevelle 454 SS is the top of the heap. Apparently, I don't know if you would agree with those rankings of classic muscle cars. Right, we got here. All right, well, there's a quick reference guide. Well, that is actually pretty handy because, and then that's for solo. Just knowing, what you're doing in each phase is a nice thing to have. And so there's only one of them, though. All right, the certification expansion. Okay. So I saw those pieces in here, but I didn't know how to play them. And the Bob's expansion. So there's this board and then the keys. Everybody gets to put something on one of these. Not exactly sure how that works, but there you go. If you want to look at it, and we'll look at the components for those extra pieces in a little bit. All right. So here is this central board. So you can see it's just a real simple fold out board, but essentially you're going to roll the dice, and then depending on what the sides come up on the dice, you're going to put them out on this board, and then everybody's going to draft a die on their turn, and then they'll come around, you'll draft again, so everybody gets to draft 2 dice, and then there'll be a leftover die, and everybody will get to use that one. So whatever color it is tells you what row to put it in, and whatever column it is, when you take it, tells you the action that you get to take. So these are all different things you get to do on your sheets. And then anything that it's sitting on top of is a bonus that you get when you take that die. So there are a lot of interesting decisions about what dice you want to draft. All right, so there's 2 different pads. I think there's 50 sheets in each one of these. Oh, and they are double-sided. Okay, so that's nice. But you do need one of each of these to play the game. So let's look at this side. All right, so this side has the car dealership. So, if you do that sales action, you can get some money. So you I think it recommends that you circle these to say that you have the money, and then you can cross it out when you spend the money. Because you can spend the money like getting another test car or ignoring the auditor die. And I forgot what that one is exactly. But is that upgrading? That must be upgrading an action, right? And then there are these bonuses that when you get to these circles, you get to do something. Like, for instance, that's the speedometer bonus. So the speedometer is interesting because you sort of increase it. You keep increasing it. And then the number of stars for whatever level you're at is what you get every round. So you're tracking those here in your score. So the 8 rounds. All right, down here, you get to start the game with a test car. So you fill in whichever test car you want. And then when you take the test car action, you're just moving the car around. And so you're claiming these bonuses as you move the car around. And then, of course, you can buy another test car to start on another track. This one, you can only ever actually choose one of the routes around here. So these little certificates, you can't get both of those. All right, so that's that board. Let's take a look at this other board. A lot more going on in this one. All right, so this one has engineering. So much like with the test car, you start with an engineer, which means you're going to work up one of these tracks. And you can get other engineers. I think there's some spaces that give you engineers. Anyway, so as you go up and then you just cross off different things. And if you get to the top, you can sort of fill in this, and it's different ways to score for these score points at the end of the game. So engineering, a lot of interesting things there. There are going to be symbols on these things that relate to other things. Like there's this B and this E, and you need those to do something else somewhere else. So it gets a little interesting that way. In fact, like for instance, here's the B, right? So you need to get the B over here in order to score the points here. So this is production, maybe? Yeah, okay, there is production. So there's that symbol. So you start here, and then you can just sort of pick your path however you want through here. When you get to these things, if you meet the requirements for them, like this one is, I think it's called a TPS report. You have a TPS report, and you have that D from wherever it comes from. Then you get this bonus, which is the speedometer increase. All right, so here are some certificates. You can use certificates to unlock certain stuff. Down here, you've got research. And then you get a free action, or you can spend at the shop every time you get to one of these dots. So a free action is nice, or here's the shop. You can do these three things, right? Increase your speedometer, get an engineer, or get 2 TPS reports. Up here, so when you take a die off the board, you do whatever action is associated with a die, but then you also get to place it on your board, and then you get to do whatever action you put it in for the slot. Caveats to that is you can only have one die in each slot, so that die might be blocked because this is your second die, so you can't put it in the same space, or the auditor die could be blocking a space from using it. And you can see you can level these up, right? That's what these extra holes are for. So if you've leveled up testing to say 3, and then you put a die here, then instead of moving the car 1 space, you move it 3 spaces. All right, so that's sort of an explanation of the board, the things that you're writing on and the roll and write. And that's really, what's the most complicated part of the game. All right, so here are all the different dice. So there's a red die in here somewhere too. All right, the auditor die, we'll do that in a second. The black die is for solo, and it just looks like a D6. Okay, so that's just a regular D6, but there's 3 other colors of dice, so let's take a look at those. And they have the different actions on them, right? So that's production and sales, or increase your speedometer, or choose engineering, test your car, etc. And the white one, are they the same? Does it just have the same? I think it does. Each side has the color just tells it what row it should end up in, but it looks like they all have the same distribution of symbols. So, all right, that's cool. The auditor die, again, at the end of every round. So the first round you don't have it, but at the end of every round you roll the auditor die, and then some action gets blocked. Yep. And I guess no action is blocked, and maybe that's a reroll. Not entirely sure about that, but these just say, hey, you can't, we're blocking these actions, so you can't, when you take the die and put it on your board, you can't use that space for that extra bit of action. All right, what do we got here? So I mentioned that this is rolled for all the players, and then all the players have this to block that space, right, for the auditor die. That's what these red things are. Everybody has a token to block one of those spaces. And then here's the first player marker, which is pretty cool. All right. Yeah, there you go. That's everything that comes in the regular version of Motor City. So now let's take a look at the Kickstarter extras that came along. So Like I said, I'm not quite as familiar with what's going on with these, but I do know this is the Bob's expansion. Is that what they called it? Yeah, it is called the Bob's expansion, which is a joke from Office Space, if you're familiar with it. So there are all these different spaces, and each player gets a silica gel. No, each player gets one of these keys. And then I don't know if it's once per game or how often the players can, I think they can put it on this board and then choose which of the associated actions they want to do. Don't quote me on that. Don't play the game like that. I think it works something like that. And then there is the certificates expansion. So these are new certificates that replace those on the score sheet. So I guess they just go over there like that. That would imply that there are enough of these to give each player one, so they would need to be identical. No, does each player get a different one, making their boards asymmetrical? Is that the point of this? Well, I don't know. Maybe you draft them. Each player chooses her certification tile during setup and places it on their score sheet, covering the normal certifications. Do this in reverse turn order. All right. So I guess whoever is going first doesn't get one. All right, because I've only got 4. They're only supposed to be 4. Yeah, they're only 4 here in the rule book. Right, because there's 3 listed there and then one other there. So yeah, there you go. Well, all right. So there you go. That is the Kickstarter delivery of Motor City. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and you can put your comments here in the YouTube video, or if you look in the description of the video, there's a Discord channel where you can come ask me about it. Because like I said, I did have an early prototype of this game, and so I have played it. I do know a little bit about it. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Or if you'd like to follow us on social media, the links to all of our social media channels are also in the description of the video. But yeah, thanks for watching me unbox Motor City, and hope you get a chance to play it. Thanks.